All right, so what's going on, guys? Today is going to be the first video on possibly a series of different videos I'm going to do on the imagination and on how to access your creativity and why it is that creativity may not be coming so easily to you. I've been a little bit upset lately at the amount of bad advice it is that I see, how much phony advice it is that I see online from supposed YouTube artists and YouTube, teachers and this sort of thing. It's quite interesting to me that artists do not understand their own process in a lot of ways. And the truth is that it's pretty immediate. And as soon as it is that you understand what it is that you're doing, then everything should just flow through you naturally. And there shouldn't be any issues whatsoever as to what it is that you're doing. If you are not in a constant flow state, if you're not in a constant state of understanding that you are manifesting the experience of your life every moment of your life, from the time it is that you wake up to the time it is that you go to bed, then you're basically living in a delusional reality. And this is really the key to understanding your own creativity, because it's creativity, especially when it comes to something like art. It's not this fake guru bullshit that's put out there that you can biohack your way to more creativity or whatever. Um, and you don't need processes and you don't need steps. You don't really need anything from the external world at all in order to fully embrace your creativity. Really, what it requires is that you stop telling yourself stories about why it is that things aren't working out for you. And in order to do that, that essentially means that you live in your heart. You no longer live inside of your mind. And most of us, because society has trained us to be this way, we live inside of our minds. And so, because we live inside of our minds, we look for how to's, we look for the top 5 ways to be creative, the top 10 creativity techniques, and or how you can follow these 10 steps to have this business or whatever. There's some validity to some of this information that's out there, but a lot of it is just really fake. And it should be obvious to you that it's fake because none of it actually works. And they tell you a lot of this stuff because they want you to continue to come back to their YouTube channels and subscribe to what it is that they're doing in order to kind of keep you in this loop, right? The truth is that there are no locks, there are no bolts, there are no doors behind anything in your imagination. The only thing that is keeping you from stepping into the being the kind of artist it is that you want to be, having the success it is that you want as an artist, whatever that is that means for you, is the fact that you have not surrendered to your heart. And instead you are living in your mind, and you're living in this world of expectations that have been put on you, and these obligations and ideas that other people, biases, whatever, that other people have put onto you and that you have unknowingly accepted. So a lot of it just comes down to a basic, simple understanding. And that simple understanding is not something you can explain in 5 easy steps. Okay. Just in the same way that whenever it is that you had puberty, whenever you were a child, whenever you became of age and you had puberty, you didn't need to read a book in order to understand that you were a different person at 15 than you were at 12 or 10 or whatever, right? It's a natural thing. And what a lot of people are talking about and the way it is that people are addressing creativity is from this very unnatural place. And that's why a lot of the art is not successful because it's not coming from a pure place. If you're online and you're trying to compete with other people for money and trying to compete on the marketplace of quote unquote illustration, that means that you're a loser because you're not embracing your creativity. You're not embracing who it is that you really are. Instead, what you're trying to do is you're trying to inch by the next person that's next to you instead of fully accepting your own creativity. We have this tendency, we'll look at the marketplace. I did this for years, and it's only been recently that I've really come to understand this. And it's my hope that I can, I guess, share some of this to people that feel like this might be relevant too in their own experience. But I did this for so long. I looked at the marketplace of what other people were doing and measured myself against people on ArtStation or people that were doing other things. And all it is that it did was it just drained me creatively and burned me out. It didn't actually give me any of the results it is that I was looking for. And I tried to fit into what it is that other people expected from me. And all it is that it did was it just led me to basically failing those people's expectations. And then not only failing those people's expectations, but then also just not being happy myself. And so it was just a lose lose situation. So we have this tendency to look out at the marketplace and say, okay, well, this person is successful with this thing, so that must mean that that's what it is that I need to do. I need to follow in this person's footsteps. I need to draw like them. I need to do things the way it is that they're doing. But this will often lead you to a dead road. And the reason why it'll lead you to a dead road is because it's not your path. A lot of the times the way that I think about this is that every person has their path. Every person has their own blueprint. And I know everybody and every self-help book has said that. But I think that my way of thinking about it and talking about it's a little bit different because what I'm saying is that blueprint it basically exists in your heart space, literally. Physically, it physically exists there. People say follow your heart, but most of the time, 90% of people who say that, they have no idea what it is that that actually means. Okay. And they've never followed their heart at all. It's just a bumper sticker. It is that they say in order to make themselves feel smart or in order to fit into some sort of a social group, so something to say in a social gathering. What it actually means to follow your heart, what it actually means is that you feel into the space of where your heart is. Okay? You feel that space. You feel the presence of that space. And whatever it is that's happening there, you understand that this is your reality. This is what it is that you're experiencing, and you accept that it's there. And a lot of the times, we're not willing to do that. We're not willing to accept what it is that's going on there in that heart space because a lot of the times it's very painful because we've been living in our minds for so long. We've been living by the expectations of other people, what other people expect out of us, and what we expect out of other people. It's created a state of mind for people that is a constant state of anxiety of anticipating disappointment, being disappointed because other people are not going to meet your expectations. And the reason why it is that you know that is because you never meet other people's expectations. And so there's always this anxiety that's following people around because they're living in the margins of the expectations that other people have put on them and that they have put on other people. So they're constantly running from one disappointment to another, from one apology to one accusation, to being a victim to being an abuser. and constantly living in this paradigm of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's just misery. And not only is it misery, it completely keeps you from connecting with your creativity. So, what I'm going to share with you is just kind of a quick example of this. On this chart that you're seeing on the screen here that just popped up, this is basically all the conscious states it is that you can experience in this realm of physical reality. Okay. In on this chart, this is from David R. Hawkins. And David R. Hawkins, he's a writer. He talks a lot about manifestation and these sorts of things, which I would highly recommend looking at his material uh, if you are a creative person, because this will help open the door for you. So this material it is that you're looking at here on the screen, we basically have these different paradigms that people live in. We have the victim abuser paradigm, the self-empowerment, and the self-realization. What we have to understand is that there's no creativity on the bottom rung of this ladder, okay, or of this pyramid. In this third dimension victim abuser uh, mentality that most people exist in for most of their lives, there's nothing here. There's no creativity here. All of the creativity has absolutely nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with having a gratitude journal or writing down different tips or listening to the latest podcast on what scientists have learned about geniuses from the past. I've listened to all that. None of it matters. None of it matters. The only thing it is that actually matters, the only thing it is that actually connects you with your creativity is to understand it has absolutely nothing to do with you, because you're not separate from anything. You are a part of something that is much greater, which is the totality of reality. And reality is just experiencing itself through you. So what I would suggest is that you think about ideas as not something that you have that are specific to you, but instead think about it in terms of that all of the ideas are up on the upper fourth and fifth dimension of this vibration scale that we're looking at, this upside down triangle. That's where all of those things are, okay? And you know this is because if you look on the side where you have the level of consciousness on the right side, you can notice a couple of different things about these different states. Now, the bridge between the third dimension and the fourth dimension is courage, okay, which is at the 200 level. So there is a requirement of you to have the courage to step past your pride and understand that your creativity doesn't have anything to do with you, and that it's more about opening yourself up to something that is greater than you in order for it to come through and manifest, in order for you to have any sense of empowerment. And in order for you to have any sense of creativity. And what it is that I've noticed from my own experience is that if you step into this, you will always have the support of the universe, because you're bringing light into this third dimension. What we exist in, the world it is that we exist in, is it's just one step above hell. And so you have to think about art in that context, right? Art has a function, and that function is to bring light from these higher dimensions of inner light, of acceptance, of wisdom, love, presence, awareness. The great void. The great void holds all of the ideas that have ever existed, ever will exist, could exist. They all exist and are all accessible to you at no cost whatsoever, with no process whatsoever, right here and right now. It's just how how much are you able to accept the presence of what it is that is happening right now in your experience? Right now in your experience, there is sensations going on in your body. There is emotions that are trying to express themselves. Maybe there is anxiety, and the anxiety is coming up. And as the anxiety is coming up, it's trying to work its way out. And what it is that we do is that we have this really stupid, ignorant way of doing things where basically we keep ourselves on the lower victim abuser consciousness scale because we do not allow ourselves to feel the feelings it is that we feel. Thinking is something that is very third dimensional. It's very much rooted in fear. It's very much rooted in this idea that we need to prepare for things. The mind is always going to have some fear it is that it's trying to conquer, something that it's trying to anticipate and prepare itself for. But there's no way it is that you can prepare yourself for anything that's going to happen because that's not how life works. And that's why most of the things it is that you worry about insistently, they don't really come true, or they do come true. But the things it is that you really want, those things don't end up coming true. And the reason why that is because everything inside of you has been uh, disorganized your entire life. Instead of leading by the heart and following what the heart is telling you to do, which is your blueprint, right? The heart is absolutely your blueprint. And you know that it is because, you can be walking down the street late at night and, you're about to turn down an alleyway that takes you back to your home, 10 minutes faster. But as soon as you start to turn, you feel in your body this feeling that tells you, don't go down that alleyway. And you instantly know that if you betray that feeling, then there's going to be a consequence of that. You know that from your own experience. Nobody needs to write that in a book to tell you that. So why is it that somebody needs to give you the top 10 tips on how to be creative? Because that's right there in the heart as well. But because you don't live in that space of the heart, you don't completely surrender to the heart and just feel what the heart is feeling at that time, whatever it is that that might be. Instead, you end up living in the mind. And by living in the mind and creating all of this anxiety, the heart and the mind, they're unable to synchronize. They're only able to synchronize in order to bring about the worst things, the things it is that you don't want. But the heart begins to not trust the mind. And so since it's not trusting the mind because the mind has been so wrapped up in anxiety that it doesn't trust that the mind will listen to it. And so the heart says, you know what, fuck you too. And it just goes and sits in the corner. The blueprint of your creativity is all existent in your heart space, and you don't need to know the next step. All it is that you need to do is surrender to what it is that your experience is without the preconceptions, without the stories it is that you're telling yourself about why it is that you can't do this or why it is that this won't work. You can look out into the world and you can find a million reasons as to why it is that being an artist is difficult or whatever. All this is doing is just distracting you from following your soul blueprint, which is etched onto your heart. And if you don't follow that, then you don't get to leave this realm of experience. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to start making more videos like this that are going to kind of explore this topic. I may start another YouTube channel specifically for this. Um, and if not, then these will go on my art web on my art channel, Wesley Edwards Art. But anyways, thank you for listening to this video. Please let me know if this resonated with you. I would be eager to have this conversation with anyone. I think this is an important conversation to have. And we're at that point. We're at that point where it's time to completely step into your creator mindset, your creator, your creation power. Understand you are creating this whole thing, your whole experience. Thank you.